First of all, I could just tell you a quick interpretation. Why should the sins be forgiven? God, whatever I did, but that's only because I was only half of who I really am. If really marriage is the unification of the soul, so I was only working on half energy. What do you want? 50% of me. Shalom Avracha. With your permission, a few comments on the Torah section of this week. Parshat Balak. We read this week of the offerings, of the sacrifices of Balak. He offered many sacrifices for the purpose of destroying the Jewish people. Now, there's a well-known teaching in Talmud that a person should always be involved in the study of Torah and the fulfillment of mitzvot, the fulfillment of commandments, even for the wrong reason. For as a result of being involved in Torah and mitzvot for the wrong reason, what will happen?
They'll come to the right reason.
Eventually, they'll get there. They'll begin studying and observing for the right reason. It's a beautiful teaching in and of its own, and it's quoted in many places in Talmud. In Tractate Nazir, in Tractate Horayot, in Tractate Sotah, in Tractate Arachin, in Tractate Pesachim, in Tractate Sanhedrin. It's quoted in many, many places. It's often intrigued me that one of the primary examples cited for this teaching is the behavior of Balak. I would never have thought to include in the category of people who are involved in doing good things for the wrong reason, to choose Balak as such an example. And I would like to quote, one of the places that it's taught is in Tractate Sotah 47a. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav. Rav Yehuda taught in the name of Rav. La'olam ya'asok adam b'torah u'v'mitzvot shelo lishma. A person should always engage in the study of Torah and in the performance of mitzvot, even if it's not for its own sake, even for ulterior motives. Shelo lishma. Shemitoch shelo lishma ba lishma. For even if you're involved in the study of Torah and the fulfillment of mitzvot, shelo lishma, for ulterior motives, which I always took to mean what would be an example of shelo lishma. The examples that's given throughout literature. I don't know. A person does it so that they love the honor that's associated with learning, or they want to be identified in the community. They love the glory that comes with doing charity. They want to publish the book that will capture the religious story. That's not the highest level of Torah mitzvot. Because even if they start off doing these things for the wrong reasons, for the ulterior motives, ultimately they will reach the highest level. So far, so good. But please listen carefully to the teaching of the Gemara. Do you know where we can point to an example of shelo lishma ba lishma? Shaharei bischar 42 korbanot. Shaharei bischar membet korbanot shehekriv Balak melech Moab. For as a reward for the 42 sacrifices, for the 42 offerings that Balak offered to God, Balak was not bringing sacrifices to idolatrous forces. He brought sacrifices to Hashem. Now, Balak's sacrifices to God, it seems to be not shelo lishma. I would never call it shelo. I would call it the greatest abomination, but the Gemara calls it shelo lishma. Do you know what happened as a result of this? You know who Balak's grandson is? Zacha. He merited v'yatzta mimenu Ruth. His granddaughter, his Ruth the Moabite. You know where she comes from? You know which family she comes from? Ruth the Moabite, the greatest convert in world history. And you know who was a descendant of Ruth? Says the Gemara, King Solomon. And you know how many sacrifices Shlomo HaMelech brought? Zacha v'yatzta mimenu Ruth, sheyatza mimenu Shlomo, shekatuv bei. And regarding Shlomo, it says, Elef, Shalom Aleichem. Slicha, Simcha. Shekatuv Kei Elef Olom Yaleh Shlomo. You know how many sacrifices Solomon brought on a daily basis? Says the Gemara that somehow the Shalom Lishma, the inappropriate use of sacrifices and motivation for sacrifices of Balak ultimately worked itself out to become the highest level of sacrifice offered by the descendants of Balak. Can anyone explain that?
What's that, King David?
What? King David, right? King David, David HaMelech, Mashiach, right? They're all part of this family. But how do you? This is the Gemara's example of using of being involved in good deeds. Shalom lishma. Don't you find that astounding? Don't you find that?
I find it astounding that he's using a Gentile.
We have many pious Gentiles. Noach was a very pious person. Wasn't Jewish, but it says about Noach, Ish Tzaddik. I mean, he was righteous. Tamim hayah b'dorotav. He was perfect in his generations. Et Elokim et halech Noach. He walked with God. The Gentile part doesn't bother me. But Balak is a wicked man. Balak is trying to destroy the nation of God. It seems that the message to be derived from here is that any action which has in it any sort of positive element is never overlooked by God. Even the actions of the wicked people. Any good deed never goes unnoticed. To sacrifice to God, to pray to God, to worship God, on some level. I know I have to be careful here, but just I pray to God that I don't say anything which is incorrect. But on some level, for any reason at all, has some element of positive good. Could you imagine if Balak receives positive reward on some level, not to him, to his descendants, as a result of his actions, which the action itself, it's wonderful to connect to God. Kal v'chomer, alahat kama v'chama. How much more so if someone is sincere? If he becomes the grandfather of Mashiach with such ill intention, do you know how far-reaching your noble deeds will be? Chapter 2 of Kings 2. There are 42 young men who get destroyed. Remember when they start mocking Elisha that he's bald and he starts cursing them? And the rabbis say, 42? They hear it with the midrashic ear. Oh, 42, that's the 42 sacrifices. The 42 sacrifices of Balak have a long-term effect. How much more so we're supposed to learn for ourselves. Every good deed that anyone does in the world, every good deed that anyone does for you, any kindness, any generosity, any positive religious action, it could change the world. The world can surely be perfected through your great actions. May we experience Tikkun Olam this evening.
Man.
And may we learn and incorporate the messages of Balak. Thank you so much for listening.
Yeah, thank you, Brother Scott.
Misha Berach,